Hello to all my dear subscribers and welcome back to Secrets Behind the Stars. I'm thrilled you're here with me, because today's story will make your pulse quicken. If you're new, settle in. This is one of those moments you've been asking for, the kind of moment that makes you hold your breath without realizing it. We're diving into a reunion that has been fantasized about, whispered about, and, yes, feared by many, the instant Barış Arduç and Elçin Sanga come face to face after so long. You've sent countless messages begging for this breakdown, pleading for a close look at every glance, every pause, every carefully chosen word that might surface in a meeting so laden with history. Turn on notifications if you haven't already, because we're going to walk through this as if we were in the room, feeling everything they feel the second it all begins. Picture the scene. The setting could be a warm cafe tucked on a quiet street, a serene corner of a leafy park, or perhaps a place that once belonged to them in another time, a place that still hums with memory. The air feels denser, charged by the tension that lives right before something important happens. How is Barış getting ready? Maybe he's gone over his lines in his head 100 times, careful not to sound rehearsed, desperate not to sound flat. He adjusts his collar, smooths the cuff of his jacket, trying to manufacture calm where there is none, swallowing that tightness that always arrives when stakes are high. Images flicker through his mind, a conversation at midnight that should have lasted longer, laughter that once poured out easily, and the faint sting of the argument where everything tilted. He remembers Elçin exactly as she was and wonders how she is now, what time did to her gaze, whether it made it softer or sharper. He can't help the cocktail inside him, apprehension braided with hope, dread sitting beside longing like old companions who can't stand each other but never part. If this really is the first encounter after a long silence, then uncertainty is the loudest voice in the room, whispering that everything could go either way. He might feel the temptation to rehearse a smile, to practice steadiness, even as his hands fight a subtle tremor. He exhales and steps forward. And Elçin. What runs through her mind as the moment rushes toward her? She's no less unsettled than he is. She's always processed feeling at full volume, dissecting it until it tells the truth. She has replayed their exit, their missteps, those crossroads where each chose a different road. There were nights when sleep simply refused to arrive, when a memory would roll in uninvited and stay until dawn. The second she knows she will see him, her heartbeat leaps a half step ahead of her. Butterflies wake up. She wonders how time fits on his face, whether that light in his eyes still flares when he's excited. She chooses what to wear with the kind of care that says more than words ever could, or maybe she disguises that care with a casual look, a conscious shrug at her own vulnerability. She tries on a smile in the mirror, one that is kind but measured, open but guarded. She also rehearses distance, in case the only way to avoid hurt is to stand a little further back than she did before. The anticipation is a mess of fear and hope, curiosity, and an ache that she thought had faded but clearly hasn't. Now, the instant their eyes meet. Time, which just a second ago was dragging its feet, snaps to attention. If cameras were there, they'd press in close on their faces, unblinking. He sees her first. What strikes him immediately? Maybe it's the way her eyes warm before her lips move, or that momentary flicker of surprise that gives way to something steadier. He aims for composure, a tiny nod, a brief smile that says hello and also says this is harder than I'm letting on. Whatever calm his posture aims for, his eyes can't hide the voltage running through him. One heartbeat of hesitation hangs between them. Does he step toward her first, or does he wait to be invited? If their split carried any sharp edges, there's that brief, undeniable sting, the kind you feel in the bones before it becomes a thought. If it ended more gently, relief might swell and soften everything. Either way, the connection under the surface hums to life, and the language of eye contact begins to speak in full sentences. And she, when she takes him in, feels the flood of the anticipated made real. Relief mixes with nostalgia, anxiety gives way to recognition. She reaches for that practiced cool, the poised grace she's known for, but the heart behind it is racing like a secret. If this moment surprised her, it shows for a heartbeat. If she's braced for it, she steadies herself as reality settles in. She might smile to assure both of them that she's okay, that she too has moved forward, but her gaze cracks the door on something deeper, an ember of what once lit them up, or a tender sadness for what's slipped away. First impressions matter. Body language takes the stage before words remember their lines. They close the distance with respectful caution, the imprint of so many yesterdays pulling them both and holding them back. And then the conversation must begin. Barış, searching for safe ground, might open with a gentle, simple line, his voice low to avoid any sudden moves. "Elçin, it's really good to see you." Or, if the warmth in the air encourages him, "How have you been?" He watches her closely without staring, seeking a door he can step through without breaking anything. If she offers warmth, his confidence swells. If she keeps things cool, he adjusts, honoring the space she needs. He picks words like he's choosing fragile glassware, careful not to drop anything precious in the first minute. And her answer, at first it may carry a small tremor, or it might be silk smooth in that way she has when she needs to be strong. "You too, Barış. It's been a while." If she feels steadier, she lets a little more in, "I'm okay. I hope you are too." It is not only what she says but how she says it. Does she meet his gaze and hold it, even briefly? Does she let a playful aside slip in, to see if humor can meet them halfway? If she opens that door, he walks a bit further. If she draws a boundary, he respects it. In this dance, timing is everything. Silences wander in and out. Some pauses are tight and awkward, others feel contemplative, like they're both listening to the same distant music. Body language writes its own script. Barış keeps his hands relaxed, shoulders squared but not rigid. He leans toward her just enough to show interest without crowding. If they touch, even lightly, an instinctive half-hug, a graze of fingertips, the quality of that contact reveals more than any apology ever could. A long, sincere embrace would whisper that the thread never snapped. A brief, careful touch might confirm that the chapter has turned. The smile is crucial. The one that climbs to the eyes versus the one that stops at courtesy. And her signals, does she tuck a strand of hair behind her ear when she's considering her next truth? Does she hold her chin high to steady herself, or does her gaze drift and return like a tide? If he compliments her, does she accept with soft gratitude or glide past it to keep things safe? Every subtle gesture becomes a small confession. Underneath it all, their history wakes up. He remembers a shared road trip, that day they got lost on purpose just to keep the conversation going, a moment when laughter rescued them from an argument, the time she trusted him with a worry she couldn't share anywhere else. Those memories arrive carrying weight, happy fragments sparkle, but the hard ones still leave a shadow. He chooses whether to let them color the talk or to keep things bright and careful a little longer. And she remembers, too. The first unexpected connection that felt like electricity in slow motion, a late-night phone call that stretched until the morning showed up, the warmth of feeling completely understood, the reasons they stepped away, the stretch of days after when everything felt too quiet. How she handles that mosaic now speaks volumes. Does she touch the tenderness of those days with gentle acceptance? Does she protect herself with a measured distance? Or can she look back without flinching, and then look forward without fear? If they can name their past without making it heavy, it's a promising sign that whatever comes next could be honest and kind. Where does this meeting go? Not every reunion becomes a fireworks finale, and not every one collapses into quiet disappointment. Sometimes it becomes a mirror that shows who you've both become. Barış might say, "Time suits you, Elçin. You seem different, steadier." And she, with that directness that disarms him, might reply, "You've changed too, Barış, more grounded." That acknowledgement can open the door to a deeper talk. Perhaps beneath the differences, there's a foundation that never crumbled, respect that survived the silence, fondness that settled in and refused to leave. Then comes the question everyone wants to ask, but only they can answer: is there room to rebuild some version of what once made them light up? If sparks catch and conversation flows without strain, a future meeting naturally suggests itself. Numbers are exchanged again, or simply promises: coffee next week, a walk where the city is quiet, a chance to see if this ease can grow. Or they might both sense that this is closure, the goodbye that eluded them before, dignity restored at last. The outcome depends on honesty, the courage to say what's true rather than what would play well for bystanders. If they choose truth, whatever it is, both will leave lighter. Before we wrap, let's pause at the key beats of this encounter we've walked through as if we were standing beside them. The long inhale before the first look. The current exchanged in that gaze that said everything words weren't ready to carry. The careful beginning of conversation, where every word felt like a glass bridge that had to be crossed with care. The way their bodies spoke when their mouths were quiet, revealing comforts and hesitations with the smallest shift of a shoulder or a hand. The memories that floated up and hovered around them like dust particles in sunlight, the kind you can't see until the light finds them. And, finally, the possibility, reignition or release, a new chapter together or the gentle closing of a book they once loved. This isn't a fairy tale scene nor a courtroom verdict. It's two people with a past discovering how much of that past still lives in them and how much has asked to be set free. That is why reunions like this can feel seismic. They don't just test the heart, they measure the distance the soul has traveled. Now I want to hear from you. What do you think Barry's very first instinct would be? To reach out or to step back and read the room? And how do you imagine Elçin would handle that first fragile second? Does she lean into the warmth or keep a protective layer in place? Do you sense a soft new beginning, or do you picture a graceful, mutual goodbye that finally lets them breathe? Share your thoughts and your favorite moments from this imagined encounter below, because your insights are always the heartbeat of these conversations. If you enjoyed this deep dive and want more stories that follow those charged, cinematic turning points, remember to like this video, send it to the friend who never misses a good love story, and subscribe with notifications on so you don't miss what's coming next. Until then, thank you for spending this time with me here at Secrets Behind the Stars. You make this space what it is, and I can't wait for the next chapter we'll explore together.